Welcome to the Perry's Prayer Warriors. This week we are doing something a little different. Jerry is just back from 5 weeks in Ukraine on a mission trip, and he's going to share his experience. Take it away, Jerry.
Welcome back, Jerry.
Okay, thank you.
You are missed.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about the mission trip I was on for the last 5 weeks or whatever it was. And I'm going to go through and try to show you, get a feel of what we were doing and why we were doing what we're doing. One of the things the reason I started out with this picture of Paul younger days, he was requested to come back to Jerusalem and make report. People prayed for me, and it was felt, but you need to know what how God used the group I was with, and not just me. Okay, so with that, the first thing I want to do is show you I went with a group called Michael God International, MGI, and the idea of that program is really to give the people what they want, which is English, world-class conversational English. We don't do punctuation, grammar, and all that kind of stuff. We just do conversation. How do you have a conversation in English? Use idioms, vocabulary words, things like that. But we also want to, in that process, we want to build a bridge to their heart, to them, so that they can get what they really need, which is Jesus. Okay, so that's the mission of the group. We don't just go over and say, hey, we're coming here. We need to be invited. MGI needs to be invited over there. We individually can't be invited to join because it's a war country, a country in war, and they cannot liability-wise invite us. We have to ask to go. They can't just come up there and say, Jerry, would you like to go? No, that's against all the rules of, I don't know if it's combat rules of the U.S. government or something, I don't know. But we deny all of we have no, what do you call it, insurance while we're there. They say, whoops, that stops at the border for you guys. Well, okay, we sign off a whole bunch of things to get to be there. We're a team of serious followers of Jesus Christ. We love Jesus, and what we're going to do is try to show them Jesus' love throughout all of our interactions, not just the classes we teach, because we'll teach three, I have it someplace in there, 1 to 4 classes today, 2-hour classes. And so it's quite intense. I know when Judy and I were over in Zaporizhia in 2019, we had 4 2-hour classes. So it was up by 4:35 and in bed by midnight, We conduct the classes. It's 8 days. So it's 5 days, Monday through Friday, and then a day off. Well, a day off. That's kind of a misnomer, a day of getting ready for the rest of the time. Then we have what we call Super Sunday. Super Sunday is when the students are allowed to invite anybody they want to come and see what they're doing. They'll bring their parents, they'll bring their husband, their wife, their friends, their kids. They just need to come and see what you've been going to for this whole week, what's going on. And then we have the next 3 days. During that time, you'll find that Michael will be taking questions from the students and slowly answering those throughout the process. And as he does, he gets more and more into the gospel because they're asking really tough questions, So our job during that time is to support what they're doing, what the team is doing, but also to just keep showing Christ's love so that the people that been assigned will then understand that we love them. Okay. And that's the way you get to know them better. And then we don't just then disappear. Then it's the church's time to follow up with all of the people that we interact with. One of the things that we do on the last day is to pass out a questionnaire for a lot of different things. Would you do this again? Would you, how would you rate your teacher? What songs did you like? Things like that. But one of the questions we always ask them is, here it is. As you heard Michael and other teachers talk about Jesus in their life, have you asked Jesus into your life? So how'd that turn out? Well, I think we had the numbers kind of didn't have an exact number. I don't got that from them, but between 350 and 400 were in Lutz with us. And we had 155. Say yes. Yeah. Does that mean they're a Christian? Does that mean no? That means that they're going to be followed up greatly. Okay. In Bulgaria, we'll find that out of 52 children that were there, these are 13 and 17-year-olds, we had 33.
Wow. Wow.
And having said that, let's go on to what we did. We were in Lutz, Ukraine at the Feminine Church. That's the first time we've been at that church. The town of Lutz is historically important to the Jews, it turns out. During World War II, the Germans rounded up all the Jews in town and killed them all in one day, 22,000. So I think, if my understanding is correct, to this day, no Jews live in that town.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a Jewish historical site. They come once a year to remember the killing, but that's it. They won't live there. And then the next part you'll see as we go through this, next part is in Montana, not Montana. Montana, but it's really not Montana. It's outside of Montana in Camp, what I call Camp Refuge in Boa Vista. Yeah, and the camp is fairly remote. There's actually no address for it. We could, because we couldn't get cabs and things to come out there. You have to know where it's at. One of those places. But we will. And so what happens is, first of all, when we arrive at a location, we get there usually on a Friday and just check things out. And we came in this time from Warsaw because you can't fly in Ukraine. So we get Warsaw, then we had the pastor and one of his friends pick us up in a big van and two cars, and we went from Warsaw into Lutz. It's about a 5 or 6 hour trip. It always depends on the border. The border is a crossing that takes between an hour and 10 hours. It's how they feel, or how many people are there. It's just not, you can't tell, what's going. So we never know when we're going to arrive at a place. When we get there, the next morning, Saturday morning, is the registration, but we don't start registration until around 10 o'clock. That gives us from 6 in the morning to around 10 to do a number of things. Find where we're going to teach. We don't know what the building's like. We've never been to this building before. We don't know what facilities they have. We're going to find where we're going to teach, where we're going to set up for registration, where we're going to have our morning devotional, where the main concert hall is going to be, whatever it is, how we're going to set the chairs up. We're going to have sound checks, video checks, all those things. It's a mad dash. It's really exciting to watch, because this time we had 3 new people, but everybody else knew exactly what was going to happen. And it's not like, oh, Jerry, you go do this, oh, you do that. We just all bang and start doing it. We know we got to set up. We know we got to find this. We know we got to do that. And we do that. And then the student starts coming in at 10 o'clock and they register. They've got registered online. Okay. So we know about how many's coming. But when we made our reservations, we had no idea, is there going to be 100, 200, 500, 1,000? When we were in Zaporizhzhia, I think it was 900, wasn't it? Close to that, So you don't know what it's going to be. Okay. So you don't know how many teachers are bringing, Well, that's before the war. Now it's a little bit different. There's much, much smaller classes. But you don't know how many teachers, so you don't know how many classes you have to have. You don't know any of that stuff. You get there and they start registering, and then they got to be registered and then tested, okay, and so they can find out what level, because you don't want a 13-year-old young lady with a 55-year-old man in the same level, but they may be able to speak in the same level, so you have to have 2 different classes. You have to figure out the age difference. In fact, one little girl ended up in one of the classes with 40 and 50-year-olds, and he goes, "Is there any way?" No, we missed her, and so she came to my class. They said, "Yeah, we can get you out of that class." So there's shuffling around, and interestingly enough, people come we had people registering on Friday of the first week. You know, we've already had 5 days of classes, and now our 4 days of classes going on the 5th day, and now they're registering. Okay, so you don't know how big the class is going to be, how many. We started. I remember one time in Warsaw, I had like 6, and by the time I finished, we had 22 in the class. So I picked a place that could take 22 by God's will, I guess. Yes.
I'm curious. You
So
say
much.
they register online.
Yeah.
How open is the internet, and how is it presented? Is it presented as ESL classes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's presented as a world-class English conversational classes. Not that most people over there have had English for a number of years, and they know the grammar. They know, and Judy will not protest.
Oh, yeah. I bet she does.
Judy will talk about this. She ends up online with a lot of English teachers in her class because in Ukraine, you got a professor and he talks and you don't say a word.
Oh, wow.
And so you can't ask a question that would embarrass the teacher. So you don't ask questions, and it's not conversation. It is grammar, punctuation, vocabulary, things like that. We do vocabulary, idioms, and conversation. That's the way. We try to get them the confidence to be able to do what they can already do. When to the level 4, which I teach at typically, not always, but typically, they know how to speak. That's not a problem. The interaction, they'll say a word wrong or here or there, but they know how to speak, but they don't have the confidence of being able to do it. Okay, so they just need confidence, and you only get that by speaking and say, "Hey, great job," and having a conversation with them. Okay. We also try to very early on get the participation of the church staff and the people that are going to help us, because we need to help. Like, where's the restroom? Where's the guy's room? Where's the girl's room? Oh, it's the same place. All those kind of questions. Where we're going to eat. There's a whole bunch of things we got to do. Typically, the main pastor is not involved. They get somebody in the staff. In this case, the main pastor was not wanting us to come at all. He said, I don't know who these guys are. The assistant pastor who invited us, his wife came to be a Christian 13 years earlier through an MGI course. So he kept saying, if you have availability, I want you to come, I want you to come. The pastor, he convinced him to drive to Warsaw to pick us up, brought us back, and he was like, I don't know about this. And then he saw on that first day, he was like, whoa, what's going on? Because people were moving, doing things. We were moving chairs around. We rearranged the church. We set this classroom up. We did this, we did that. He's going, what in the world's happening? And everybody was excited and happy. And he goes, there's a different thing here. They've had people come in to say, hey, we'll come and paint for you. We'll do this, we'll do that. But we came in, we're going to bring people to your church for you to evangelize. Okay. And he saw the excitement, the happiness, everything. And he saw God's love. Okay. So anyway, from day one plus a few hours, he was on board 100%. He's the first pastor that attended all of our meetings. He's the first pastor that preached to us, to our team, not just the church. He's the first pastor that did everything with us. He was even in class. He said, I'm going to sign up for that class. I mean, this guy jumped in when he saw what was going on. It was really, and we've never really had that before. I mean,
saw God working.
He did. Yeah. Well, if you see a MGI meeting when they hit, it's like if I walk in first time to this church and I said, okay, I need 32 classrooms, I need this, I need that, I need this, and this. Where is it? And they go, well, I don't know. We'll go find it. And so we go find it. We open doors. We look. I can find this. Here's a set over here. And we don't come in and destroy them. We always use purple tape. I don't know if you know what that is. It's very residual-less tape. You can use it, pull off. It won't damage anything. No, well, it's painter's tape, but it's less less residual on the wall when you pull it off. It's really special tape like that, but it's painter's tape, but for that reason. But so we just go in and take over, you know, to the chagrin of a lot of people, but we've got to have it set up for it to be a professional event. I guess is well, yeah, and if when you knew, you're going, wow, what's going on? Jerry, grab chairs and move to this room. Okay, how many you need? 22. Okay, what's next? You know, that type of thing. It's just exciting about what's going on. So then, when at the Fenneman Church, this is the first left one is the front of the entrance there. The center picture is a meeting hall, which is where the church is. Okay, so we have to take out chairs that we don't want there and move them around the way we want them, set them up the way we want them. You'll notice the yellow and blue tags on there. We tag every teacher by the amount of students they have, and we don't know that until we register and test, and then we get that. And so we're given an assignment of who's going to be in your classroom. And then the building on the right is kind of off to the right of the other building. That's where my class ended up being. They had 4 of us had classrooms over there. Now, of course, the first day we went in there, one of the guys went in the restroom and they locked him and disassembled the wall just about to get him out. There was took us 2 hours to find to get this guy out. So we said, don't lock doors. Don't direct the restroom, but don't lock that stuff. You know.
Jerry, how many students were typically in your class?
It runs around. Well, we'll see my class here in a minute. But, yeah, but typically some of the classes were like 1 hour they'd have 6 or 7. Next hour they have 22. Then they have 5. And we had a class at 10, at 1, and then at 6:30, 18:30. Okay, this time so it's only 3 sessions, and I only had the first one and the last session. I didn't have the middle session.
How many teachers did you have? A lot.
No, we had about 8 or 9. Wasn't that many this time?
Wow.
Yeah, we've had as many as 30. I think in one of the places we had 30 teachers. So then the first thing that happens every day is devotionals, and this is like our daily routine. First of all, we wake up in the morning, pray for your students, do our devotional with Michael. I'm going to go through most of his devotionals today. We'll review our lesson for that day because I've done this lesson 52 times, but I got to make sure it's set for this class that I've got. Do I have teenagers? Do I have elderly? Do I have kids? What I have? Because you got to adjust sometimes to the level of what, not just a speaking level, but their educational level. We begin from day 1 and start learning their names. We've got to know their names, and it's something about each one. This is a song, this so and so. So you can use that to help build a bridge. We present the ESL course. We do half-hour singing, the hour of ESL, and then another half hour of singing. And then as the week goes on, I'll tell you that Michael takes questions from the students and he starts answering those questions. And that's his way of getting into the gospel. And we don't get to the gospel until the Super Sunday and then the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And if you've ever been on a mission trip and told not to tell the gospel for a whole week, you're going, But he's trying to do it in a way that they've been doing for 30, 35 years now, and that it works, okay? So he's trying to ease into it. Now, the songs are all Christian songs. We've taken the word, and they don't realize that because not using the word Christ in them, but they're all songs that have been modified, fixed up to where you can see that you're working towards that. If you're a Christian, you can see the progression as you get closer and closer to the time that they're going to be told the gospel. But he says a question, what? How are you guys? Why are you guys so happy? Who paid for you to come over? What's going on? How's this going? How did you? Why did you come to a war area? Those are the questions that they're asking.
The very songs meant to be part of the instruction.
Yes. Oh yeah. They found like 50 some years ago that the best way to learn to articulate in another language is sing. So put songs out there. So we end up with, I think it's 10 or 15 songs that they will learn. A lot of them with movements. Lean on me. We all lean on each other. The mountains. And we're talking about all this. We do all the motions.
All that kid stuff comes in here.
Yeah.
It's something real handy. And we can't even imagine how many people much older than me will get into it, because now all of a sudden they can say those words. Those words are flowing out of them, and they're going, "I speak English," and that's the point of it. Okay,
So Jerry, they never speak any of their own language.
it's 100% English. And whenever they start to say it is English only, that's the first thing, English only. When we talk to them outside, because one of the things we do is enthusiastically greet and say goodbye to every student. I stand at the door, and I'm the first person they see.
The little kids are already knowing enough English.
No, this is typically 18 and above, most of our classes. Yeah.
But even them, they're already speaking.
Oh, yeah, most of them have English most of their school life.
Oh,
They've had that, and they've had art, which I found out was the school.
Almost all European countries, they can't get out of school without speaking.
Yeah, well, and now it's the official language of business in Ukraine. So everybody's kind of like, I gotta learn this, because birth certificates, everything's going to be in English from now on.
it fascinates me that I get on the radio with these guys out in the blue, and they're all, we understand each other. So
Oh, yeah. And a lot of them, like the guy that installed my internet at home here, he was from Dnipro, and his boss was from Zaporizhia. Where'd you learn your English? Tom and Jerry. And of course they see,
Jerry.
and when they see,
Not this, Jerry.
no, when they see my name, they go, Jerry says, "Hey, where's Tom?" I get that every lesson. I left him
He's in
outside.
Kevin and Nancy's car.
Hey, that's for later.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, sing one for us.
No, I'll bring you I thought of the Linda sheet, but I'll bring you a sheet and let you see it. But they're real catchy songs. There's a lot of really good, solid songs about things, and they get into it. They really can, and they can sing the words. And we talk about pronunciation of the words and all that, so they can do it correctly and have a good deal. So then, okay, so one of the things I want to talk about is, and Judy will attest to this, it's worth paying the money, going on this mission trip to hear Michael speak every morning. I mean, it is really, really,
Is
so,
he retired?
huh?
Is he retired?
No.
Okay.
He does talk about the fact that this, and I'll go later on, this may be our last mission trip. I mean, because all of us are pretty much about 2 or 3 are under 60, are in the 60s. Everybody else is in the 80s, and Michael's probably 84, 85, 83, something like that. I'm not, huh? Yeah, 82, 83. So he says, we may not be here next week. I'll talk about that later, but his wife, Jan, has heart failure and has all kinds of problems right now. He says, you need to be finding the next guys that are younger, because we're not going to live forever, guys. We don't, and that's one of the things that Paul said, hey, may not always be around, they may chop my head off, who knows? And so, the thing is we have to be prepared for those kind of things. So the first lesson, the first devotional I gave was on bridge building, and talking really about Timothy going and paving the way for the person, the stuff that was going on and the trials that they were going to have. So he's saying, hey, look, and if you go through the verse, it says, then he goes to the Song of Solomon, because he's talking about how intimate we are to be with Christ. He is more intimate than your spouse. Okay. And in that Song of Solomon 7, 10 through 13, it says, come. He wants a response. Let us do this together. Okay. Beloved, Jesus is our beloved. We are Jesus' beloved. Go into the country. We're to do something. Okay. Spend the night in the villages. This is where we are supposed to be a part of them. So when we sit down, like on Sunday morning church service before everything starts, and then on Super Sunday, we go to church with them also, we sit all around. We don't sit in a group right up here. These are the Americans coming to help us. We sit around. We're a part of them. Okay. Let us rise up and go to the vineyards to look and to see if there's a harvest is ready. See whether the vine's budded. Over the doors are all the choice fruits. God's given us this opportunity to witness, okay, to harvest the stuff. This is his opportunity. He's done, got it. God set all this up. I mean, if you know the details involved in this and how to get that many people over there, they booked me on 4 or 5 flights before the airlines let me have a flight. I mean, I usually go through Helsinki. I couldn't go that way. They didn't go to London. I finally got to Frankfurt there, and they book it and they'd say nope. They wouldn't. We don't know why, but it wouldn't let me go. Finally, I got to go. But then we say, and I have stored in this verse, as I've stored up here, God's got all these people ready for us. Okay, and like I try to tell the students, and tell the people that arrange who's in what class. That's neat. God's the one that put that person in the class. Okay, you did a lot of your stuff too, but you did it because God wanted that person right there with that teacher. Okay, that's his assignment. There's no accidental placements or meetings. Okay, and then this is where the pastor talked for a while. On the next day, he was saying, "Hey guys, the Lord, you're here, but you need to start well, finish well. The Lord is faithful. You're here because He's been faithful to get you here." Then Michael's devotion was on Acts 28:1-6. It's where Paul went and got shipwrecked, and they got on the island, and they handed him and grabbed a stick of sticks, and the viper bit him, and everybody goes, "Oh, watch him die, because he's going to die. Everybody dies with that," and he didn't. And they went, "He must be God," which he tried to say, "No, I'm not." But the thing is, the point that Michael was saying was really was there are vipers on our path. Satan's going to be biting us every step of the way. Just deal with it. And how you react is going to be what they see. We're going to have all kinds, and tell me, there are all kinds of roadblocks, along the way. Every step you make is another roadblock, another roadblock, another roadblock. I'll get into more of that later. But the idea being, when these roadblocks come, go ahead and go on. Be a Christian in your response. Yes.
Do you think this trip had more roadblocks than the other trips you made?
More what?
Roadblocks.
Oh yeah. The part of the problem is some people over there think that we're coming to buy the churches. In other words, here we come in there, we're trying to pay our way into a church and then use American influence to gain that church's loyalty or something. There's a lot of not everybody in Ukraine's Ukrainian. There's a lot of Russians mixed in there, and a lot of EU bad sentiment, NATO bad sentiment. It's incredibly complex these days. I mean, it's just not. There's things going on that we can't even comprehend, and I didn't get involved with as much as the gospel. They're dealing with setting up things being canceled, rebooking, all that stuff is just mind-boggling. One of the things that Paul was saying, that Michael was saying is, and I'll use my Keelonism version of saying this: if your name isn't posted on the bulletin board in hell, you're not doing your job. If Satan's not worried about you, you're not doing what God wants you to do.
So a wanted poster.
Jerry.
Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry. We got Tom, we're going for Jerry. No, really, the idea being, if Satan's upset with you, he's going to throw a lot of vipers out there, and you're doing God's work. If he's not upset with you, then you're on his team, whether you want to or not. So anyway, the local church members really stepped up, did a lot of things. They gave us, helped us find chairs, rooms, coffee, lunch, dinner, coffee. Did I say coffee?
3 times.
Several times. You were happy about it.
Barely.
No.
Oh.
Their coffee, their black coffee it's never black. it's just foaming on top. They just foam it up for some reason. You go, thank you. You can drink it, but it's not coffee. I was like, quickly, here's the ones that God assigned me. Linka, going across the road. Linka, Sophia, Maria, Vera, Bodan, Mira, Ivan, Tanya, Anastasia, and Andre. That was my 10 o'clock class. And then in my 1830 class, I had Anastasia, Anna, Victoria, Kate, Lilia, Sophia, Max, and Antonina. Lilia, the one in the bottom left-hand corner, lawyer. Very, very articulate. There's lawyers, and the Anna was the data analyst trying to convince her boss to let her use AI to analyze the data. He goes, "Oh, it's evil. It's evil. You can't do that." And she goes, "How do I tell him it's not evil?" You know, that type of thing. So you learn things about each one of them as you go.
And I hate to ask this question, do you have, a lot of males can't be coming to this very easily.
Not in there are males that are not going to be taken to the Army because they make bombs, they make munitions, they make drones, they program drones, they keep things going. Okay, the amount of electricians that keep the grid system going is incredible. But by and large, it's women, the classes these days.
Just haven't thought about it till I saw this picture.
Yeah, Max is the only one so far, and I don't know what his deal was. He didn't talk about what he did, something with the government. So, because now, well, one of the pastors that I talked with in Zhytomyr, which I was at 2 years ago, doesn't leave the church but 1 hour a week, and that's through a sneaky way to get to see somebody else because he only has one child. You have to have 3 to be exempt from service, and they'll just grab him and take him, and in 30 days, it's on the front line. Yeah. So anyway, so this is you talk about the picture. This is an advertisement. There's the building I was in over here. This is an advertisement they had on a bulletin board outside their church for the class. Okay, and this is during class. My class, and you see, there's Jerry, was right here. We're a long way from the front of it, but that's just we're placed the way we are. And I had to change these tags every session because one time they'd have 13, next time they'd have 4, and you don't want them to be big gaps. You got to keep changing to make it look good each time. So that was kind of exciting. I'd never done that job before, but they trusted me with it. The ladies on the left is Oksana was our translator, and Olia was our keyboardist, and I said she was a translator of our hearts. She lived in Kasan until her house was blown away. Then she moved to Chiknifsy or something like that, and she is now she travels with us when we go on to these places. Oksana is a new translator for us. It was interesting. She got the same emotion that Michael had when Michael would be doing things. She got into it so good that she could give the same emotion, same looks on her face and everything. It's really cool. She was quite neat. She helped me buy Judy a shirt. She had a shirt on one time that I loved, and I said, "Can you find me one of those?" She said, "Well, they're all custom made." And I said, "Can you custom make another one?" She goes, "If you like." So she did. There's my classroom that I had there. This is the lessons. The lesson on left is for a lesson on entertainment. The other one is on a lesson for nonstop talking. And we got them what I could say knee to knee, where you get a chair there and a chair here. You actually come up till your knees touch, and you line up the 2 rows, and you pull up a topic. Oh, sorry. You pull up. It's right there. Well, you pull up a topic, and then you talk about that topic for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. I get down to 30 seconds. And they go, "I can't do that." I said, "Yeah, you can." I said, "You're learning the fact that you have to think in English. You can't think and translate. You have to think in English." And so it's a good exercise. But then kind of the end of every session as we're trying to adjust the time frame, I always go knee to knee, and we just throw out topics and say, "Talk about this." And they get to choose a topic. And I got to go faster. Yeah. Don't laugh at me, John. So then, on the 17th, the subject we was talking about was to continue, okay? This is where Michael was telling, he's trying to encourage his devotions are from, the teachers, from the staff, whether the ones that, everybody there. And the pastor sat in the back, and we had our translator sit with him and translate what he was doing, okay? So this is to help us each day be able to face what's coming that day. And this one was, this may be our last trip. Enjoy it, get ready, do a good job on it, tell your story. I've talked about this before. Each one of us needs to have our conversion story in our mind, ready to speak it at any moment. How did you become a Christian? You should be able to just jump into it and say it. If you haven't done it, write it down, memorize it, write it down, memorize it. You need to be able to do that. And then on the 18th, it is, let us not become weary. Don't lose, and Galatians 6:9 says, let us not lose heart in doing good, for in due time we shall reap what, if we do not grow weary. Due time, proper time. That's really means an incredible season of opportunity. He goes, this is it. Okay. He was, before we got there, he went and talked to, in Zhytomyr, which is a capital not the capital, it's one of the headquarters for the army, and all that kind of stuff is there. He met with 1,000 poor widows.
Oh,
When you're just 30 years old,
wow.
not the older ones even, 20 to 30, 1,000 in that one town. He brought up the fact, remember Blackaby and his discussions about experiencing God. Find out what God's doing and join him. That's what we were doing. We're joining him. Then he talked about Wesley and Whitefield, I guess, during the Great Awakening. The way they started doing their Great Awakening was back then there was a dress code for the churches. Well, the average Joe didn't have the clothes to attend church in England. So they go, this is crazy. So they went, and most of the people were commoners that worked in the mines, the coal mines. And so they went and stood by the coal mines, says, let's have service out here. We'll meet you in the morning, we'll meet you at night. And the clothing that they didn't have, the clothing they wore was considered vulgar. That's where the word vulgar comes from. It was dress that is not appropriate for church. Okay, and so that's how the Great Awakening started, was in that type of a situation. But you got to see that the opportunity is totally orchestrated by God. Our invitation to be there, the ability to get us all there, the ability to get us there with our luggage. That's always a big deal. We've had people show up on this and for 2 weeks and never get their luggage. So they have to go.
That would be a challenge.
That would be, and it's always ends up being the women, because the guys that go, oh, no big deal, but the women, and one of them got it 6 months later. They traveled all over the world, but not to her. So you got to be ready to buy clothes. Where you go out and have to shop. There's things that Satan's throwing thing after thing at you. Just got to say, no, he's not going to stop us. Okay. Then the next day, the pastor, he talked, and he was talking about Paul thanked God for their faith, and he was saying in Romans 1:8-15, says, support God's word, gospel encourages. Paul prayed for people he'd never seen. Okay. The gospel encourages strength for others, and the ministry gives older people the encouragement to continue and think in terms of what you can give and not what you can take. And be ready to share the gospel anytime. Then on Super Sunday, this was when we filled the hall. Normally where the video is at the top, you can see up the top there, right here, is where we would end we have all that forward. We had to fill all this up, and I sat back at the back there like I'm supposed to. Yes, his devotional went 45 minutes. So we had to be there, and if the class is at 10, you start greeting at 9. You're ready because people come in early. So actually 9:30. I'm at 9:30. So 30 minutes before each class, you got to be there. And so we had to be finished by 9:15 to give us time to go to our rooms and put up our next lesson, because the day before we left early. You get out of there, we had to get back to the hotel. The bus only goes at a certain time. So you don't have much time to change over.
Very rigid.
Oh, yeah, it's very, you should talk to Judy when she was there. I had to go through her room to get to my room, and we had the lessons that we'd made together. So I'd switch mine, switch hers, and so sometimes we'd sit there and be titled was, oh, that title was in this room, just change room around, you know. Now a lot of them use laptops and do a PowerPoint presentation. It's okay. I like the paste things on the wall so they get up and move around type deal. Michael's devotion again. He's talking to the Jews on the top one. On the first one is unreaped corners. When you take your harvest, you do it in a circle and you leave the corners there and you don't reap the corners. You leave stuff on the ground. Boaz did that for Ruth. You don't take everything. Save some for the gleanings. Okay. Oh, the people were left for the gleaning. So now because the Baptist churches in Ukraine, but now we've got to get the ones that were left. Okay, that's who we're trying to bring in. Okay, and then in the other one it was lasting biblical principle, which is use ordinary people in extraordinary ways, travel across the country and give a lesson, a world-class lesson, for Christ's exclusive glory. Okay, that's the lesson on that one. And then in the approve, disapprove, God approved this ministry. The students approve from their comments. Improve, we always need to improve every time we go, every time we do anything. Disapprove, Satan totally disapproves of what we're doing, and he'll fight us all tooth and nail all the way. Then they talked about in Exodus 4:2. God said to Moses, "What you got in your hand, dude?" And he goes, "A staff." He says, "Throw it on the ground." Throw it on the ground, turn it into a snake. He says, "Grab the snake by its tail and pick it up." You pick it up. Now it's the Lord's rod. There's a snake in everything. Satan's there for every minute of your day, and he's trying to find. Yes, I lost my computer this morning. Oh, it took me about an hour one of those things. Let us update. It says click off this, click off, and let me update you. And I did, and I came back on black screen with a cursor. Where do I started clicking all the screen. Where did I click? Where did I click? I finally got it back on there, but for the 45 minutes, whatever I was on. So Satan is in everything. He's trying to wipe us out.
The Lord prompted you to take care of that at home, so you didn't get up here and find out it's missing.
Well, last night when I went, I turned it off. I said, I'm not going to do that. But then it said it again. It'll say it today when I come back and do it here, and make you do it. On the third time, I think it makes you do it. And I go, I better do it now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we're going to Bulgaria, Camp Refuge. But basically, this is camp is right on the left side there. The picture over there is of a veranda there. This camp was being offered to Amy Purnell as a camp to do this with for long term. When they talked to the Ukrainian military, or actually to Ukraine, they sent them to the military, and they said, "How many can you take? Can you take 100, 1,000, 10,000? We give you 10,000 kids. We need them." And we're thinking more of 50, 60 is all we could house at a time, and we could do three 2-week sessions. Okay, and that was what we were going to do. After this third day, we said, "No, it's not. It's over. We can't do 3 a day." And the reason is EU restrictions. Okay. The first thing, and these were not like long ago restrictions. These were imposed en route. They're supposed to be a 12-hour bus trip down there. They got through after about 5 or 6 hours through the Romanian border. And then they said, "Oh, by the way, you can't drive this Ukrainian bus into Bulgaria. That's an EU country, and you're not. You're not getting in there with that." So we had to hire another bus, another driver, meet them in Bucharest at the McDonald's, of course. And then because you can't have a Ukrainian driver either, you got to change bus, change driver, change everything. So they did that. Then they said, we got down there and we had planned Ukrainian cooks and we were going to be the servers. Well, we can't be the servers because we're not EU certified and we don't have the shots. We don't have the documentation. So, and it can't be Ukrainian cooks, it has to be Bulgarian cooks, but the Bulgarian cooks that were certified couldn't cook because the kitchen wasn't authorized. So we had to order food out and bring it in. It was Bulgarian food. They're used to Ukrainian. One of the comments was there was no red and green on their plate every day. In Ukraine, every meal, breakfast included, there's tomatoes and cucumbers on every meal. I mean, you get used to eating. I mean, there's no red and green. And we had, and they get there and they say the students were complaining about the food. They were supposed to be food for us. It wasn't. We had to go out and buy our own food and bring it in, make sandwiches. It's not a big deal, but it took like 4 days of the students being there to be able to properly feed them. The bus trip was supposed to be 12 hours. It turned out to be 36 plus. Yeah. Yeah. But when that happened, Michael Gott said, "This is it. We're not going to do that. We can't do this. There's too many restrictions." There was Ukrainian spies on the trip and spies not military, but they were basically watching for the kids. And I'll tell you about that later on. Make sure they were fed right. One guy, this is Igor. I'll show you a picture later. He's probably 350, 6 foot something, and his mom was complaining he wasn't getting enough food, and he thought he wasn't. And because the people there would look at us, you can't feed those people that. Take it off the shelf. Take it off the line. Take that off the line. No dessert today. No, we're supposed to be there feeding and talking to them, and all this stuff was going on. Anyway, there were so many EU regulations, they decided that this would be the only camp. And Amy is not going to take over that camp. We may do things like this in the future, but in Ukraine, maybe Poland, maybe Ukraine, the Ridgeways who have the camp, okay, they've already repurposed. We said on that they were leaving, we're not coming back. Well, they went ahead and planned other things. They've already got a camp this week of students coming with their moms. So it's a mom-kid deal. So they're continuing on, and how that lasts out, I don't know how long it's going to last like that or what's going to happen. I wasn't given that information, and I don't think anybody knows at this point. But just like, for instance, you know this, the electrical went out one day. Well, electricity goes out over there a lot of times, and they go. I said, well, is it in the building or is it in the grid? I said, we need to know the difference. He said, well, I show you the breaker room and open up the deal and go, close it. Well, as you know, dust on breakers cause arc flash and kills people 5 a day in the United States with all of our stuff, in clean rooms and everything else. Dust, spider webs all through it. And I was going, it's going to blow. Close it up. And I said, don't let anybody in that building. So you need to turn the power off, clean that out, redo it. I went outside and the cable's there, and you could reach out and touch a cable. I thought there are EU regulations that the Bulgarians don't necessarily follow themselves. So it was kind of this is the top right hand is a building that maybe our church even, I don't know. Somebody built the rafters, another church built the roof on it. The middle picture is that in the front was over here, and it was like a U shape for the building, and we could house about 50. I volunteered right away. I says, I'll do beds. I can make beds. I mean, that's 55, 60 beds with all the counselors and all that kind of stuff. Took like 8 to 10 hours. Wow. Not just me, there was a team of about 4 of us. And the reason was, the sheets and the blankets and the pillows that they'd ordered weren't going to be there until Thursday. The kids are coming supposedly Sunday night. They actually didn't get there until 3:30 Tuesday morning. Okay, so we had a little extra time, but we had to make beds. It was difficult. They're sturdy beds, but nothing fit. We had to. It took us all day to get that all. And things like, here's the towels. They're supposed to put the white ones with the girls and the dark ones with the boys. And they said, no, it's supposed to be the other way. So we switched them. No, it's supposed to be like this way. They switched back. Part of it was the Ukrainian sponsors wanted it one way. We had planned on doing it another way. And then Judy says, we should really be doing it this way. And so we kept, all this. It was really,
What difference is,
Yeah.
what your color your towel was?
Well, they all had reasons. They all had reasons. So we were just doing what they asked us to do. Huh?
Who's the ones with the reason?
Well,
Or are you talking about the different people that were?
different people. Well, Judy, she
Yeah.
owns the place. Judy Ridgewell owns the place. She knows she knows what she has available. Okay. And then the Ukrainians go, no, that's not how you do a girl. You do it this way. And then we'd already planned to do it another way. And so it was like, so a very easy task took a whole day. I said, I don't want to make a bed again. I don't want to make a bed again. And then these are Michael's devotions. But we were in the room there. I'll show you the room here in a little bit. But
You know, we are so lucky. I mean, we are so used to everything.
Yeah.
That's the word, spoiled.
yeah, we really are. Yeah. And I'm not going to have time to go through all these. The devotionals were just fantastic. I'm just saying. But it was each day to encourage us to, don't let things get in your way. Don't let the vipers bother you. Don't let this happen, because we still got to be on mission. And Michael got, our MGI was there not as MGI, but as for Amy Purnell's Bulgarian Child, I think is the name of her organization. We were there working under her because Michael's. There were two other churches going to be there for the 2 weeks after us and 2 weeks after that. And so we were just there as the first ones, a guinea pig, to decide, is this going to be a go? And it's not. This is, you can see even in Bulgaria, there's all the sunflowers and there's the wheat right there. This is one of the gentlemen, Bill, trying to help move all the people into the hotel in Montana. That's looking at some little town out there. We went on a mountain climb one day. It was on a paved little area, but it was really steep. Not all of them could go. And I got caught in a color bomb. We had a color fight, and I got caught in the middle of that. And there's a pool. I'm sure that where we went.